do less Deebo Samuel involved. Unfortunately, Deebo,
Agreed.
it hasn't been his year on the games that he's gotten targeted a lot. He hasn't made. I mean, Yak, I think a big issue, obviously, it's the red zone for the 49ers offense. But I think something that used to carry them through was yak yards and having a defense that could basically carry the offense through, even if the offense wasn't holding up their end of the bargain. This year, I think the defense is good, but I don't think they're on that level. The offense is going to have to carry some of his weight. So I would, first of all, implement more running within the red zone. The closer the 49ers get to like within the 5-yard line and the end zone, the worse the 49ers are playing, or the worse their percentage is at actually scoring. So not only are they really bad in the red zone in general, but the closer they get to the touchdown or to the end zone, they're not scoring. So that needs to be an immediate fix. I'm targeting George Kittle more. I know that he had a bad game last game, but I think especially within the red zone, you don't necessarily have to have that much speed because you're in such a small distance. Having a big body, we've seen him be able to make contested catches before. I think I would at least experiment with trying to target him more within that red zone area. I would, for right now, just because I don't think he's ready for it, do less Deebo Samuel. I would run Jordan Mason more within that red zone period. I don't know, they need to sign a different running back too. Isaac Rendo is not it. There's breakdowns of footage where if he would just follow his backers, Juszczyk and Trent Williams are blocking, a giant gap opens up, and Garendo, for some reason, decides like a second before that he's going to bounce it outside. The safety, he doesn't get in. The safety is right there, tackles him before he gets all the way outside. And as he's being tackled, you just see this giant opening that he could have ran through if he would have just made the right decision. So I don't care how good he did in the combine with the stats, how fast he can run. He's not making the correct decisions. They need to get a different RB2 that they actually trust, because not only should they be handing the ball off and running it more, but Jordan Mason, I mean, I think last game he only got, was it 17 carries? I had it written down. So, yeah. 14 carries. I mean, that's unacceptable. Right now, Jordan Mason needs to get in between 16 and 20 carries a game, and they need to have another running back involved that they can, when he needs a breather, get him involved. I want to do more quick passing. I feel like with Jimmy Garoppolo, they had a lot of those like dump off passes. I know that Christian McCaffrey was exceptional as that. Is it possible, do you think, to have like maybe some more simple routes where Jordan Mason, when he's in there, where they could have him within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage? Maybe he's not the first option, but if someone else isn't getting open, instead of Brock Purdy holding the ball and having to scramble for 20 yards each way before throwing the ball away, is there a way to get more dump off passes to Jordan Mason? I'm not trying to say he's going to take it home in the way that Christian McCaffrey would, but I feel like he should be able to just catch the ball.
Well, I mean, they need to use him as a threat in that way to force the defense to honor it.
Yeah.
So I
right
think
now
that you
know
do need to do that.
run.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to have that in your arsenal as part of the offense. I agree.
And then Jonathan Pearman says, let Purdy run it. I think he's running it enough. I like that when a play breaks down or the offensive line is collapsing, that he can, scramble for a first down. I don't think there needs to be a ton more running with your quarterback, because that would really mess up. Obviously, Brendel is a huge issue, but I don't really know how you attack that. When it comes to secondary, I think Malik Mustafa needs to be in there over Huff, which seemingly is going to happen because Huff is injured. But even when Huff wasn't injured, I didn't think he was playing well enough to deserve the spot over Malik Mustafa. I thought Malik Mustafa was actually a highlight of yesterday or Sunday's game. I will say, I don't know how you felt about him, but I thought he
played his best game of the year.
I did too. But yeah, I think that's what comes to mind right away.
Those are good ones.
Would love to see Jacob Cowling involved more if he's healthy. I think you said that you thought he was participating. I know last week he wasn't, but that's I think mostly they need to target their red zone issues on offense. They need to be more creative in that way. And then defensively, I don't know how you actually make this adjustment, but they need to be getting pressures. When I think of Seattle and Geno Smith, I've often said Geno doesn't scare me, and that's because every time I've seen them, the 49ers go against Geno, it seems like he got pressured on every play and in the face of Nick Bosa was making the wrong decision. I don't know if the game will go like that this year because this defensive front four doesn't seem the same, and Geno seems to be playing a lot better. I'm hoping that is, doesn't show up in this game and that the, front four can get home a little bit more. I think Mr. Corey says Nick Bosa is just average now. He did finally have a really impressive intercept. Not finally. It's extraordinary to have interception, but I thought he did have a good game last week, but he definitely isn't the level that maybe you're paying him $35 million to be.
Yeah. The DPOY player is gone. I think that's the concern for the Niners. In terms of Seattle, Geno's had a good year, and he's got some great receivers, some good weapons. The problem with Geno is that if you can surround him and pressure him where he feels that pressure, he's claustrophobic. He hates a pocket that's crowded. When you touch him in the pocket, he can throw really bad interceptions. There was the Denver game. He was barely nicked on the thigh. And shortly thereafter, he threw a pass on the numbers to a Denver DB with no Seattle player in the picture. That's how bad the pick was. So Geno can do that. He's very capable of making a really dumb play. And Seattle is pretty bad at protecting him. They give up, I think they're in the top 5 in most sacks given up. Part of that is injuries. Again, this Seattle team has been decimated by injuries. So the question will always be is just how many of their starters are actually playing in this game on the offensive line, on the defensive line. If they've got enough of their starters and they can protect Geno, he can pick the Niners apart because they've got too many mismatches in speed and ability in the Seattle receivers against the Niner DBs, particularly given that Mooney Ward isn't healthy. So that's a problem. And the other thing that's an issue with Seattle is they need to run more. And McDonald said that. They lead the league in pass attempts. So they're out of balance right now. Their offensive coordinator came from UW, and he was the offensive coordinator for Michael Penix. And so Washington threw the ball a ton. And that's why Seattle is doing it too. But he needs to get more run, and I think they will. Because they know that the Niners are weak against stopping the run. And so I would expect Seattle to have a better game plan. And I'm worried about their receivers against the Niner DBs.
Absolutely. Tom, it was wonderful to talk to you. Everyone, please make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ashley Aireonna right here. Leave a comment if you feel inclined. I think that helps with the algorithm and all that. A lot of these talking points were taken from Tom's most recent 2 articles responding to the loss against the Cardinals. I know that you're going to have many more. If for anyone who wants to read these, it's Niners Cast on Twitter. Also, if you go 49ers SI, Niners Cast are all his articles. Always appreciate the read and think that you have some insightful comments, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you having me on.
Me too.
There will be a game preview article tomorrow because the game is on Thursday.
I was wondering because I know the time is a little different.
Yeah. Mr. Corey asked if I'm going to the game. No, I can't get tickets. Yeah. I wish I could. Nah. Oh well.
I almost went with my dad to.
I live in Seattle, by the way, folks. If anybody doesn't.
Yeah. I almost went with my dad to the Cardinals game, but I convinced him that we should. Well, one, there was the blessing of the fleet, so all that the they're very beautiful, but there's these planes that fly over San Francisco and do all these tricks and stuff. So there was going to be a ton of traffic, and then also it was like 105 degrees, and I was like, Dad, we're gonna die. So I'm gonna try to go to a game coming up, maybe the Seahawks game that's going to be in Levi's in a couple weeks. But I'm glad that we didn't go. Part of my reason of wanting to go before I realized how hot it was I was like, oh, this will be a win. And like for my first game at Levi's, I want to see a win. I'm so glad I didn't go see that game in person. I would have been pissed off. I mean, I was pissed off in general, but I would have been really mad if I was out there sweating. And speaking of my dad really quickly, I'll read his final comment before I check out for us. But he said, Tom, that good. Our front four doesn't scare anyone. I think he's saying maybe about Seattle. Our front four doesn't scare anyone.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think that the Niners need to send 5 to get pressure. And that's what they did against New England, and it worked for them. Part of the problem for the defensive line is the lack of depth. They've got 6 players who should take the field, and the rest after that are kind of iffy. And I think that's an issue. Blue Angels, okay.
Blue Angels is what I meant, not Blessing of the Fleet. Beautiful. I've been not this past year, but a different year with my dad, and walked around where the if you go past Pier 39, the harbor kind of opens up and you can walk in San Francisco and you can see them. Really beautiful. They get really loud too. They kind of come down. Very beautiful. Mr. Corey says his freaking first game was the Cleveland game last season. That sucks.
Condolences, so Corey. That's tough.
Yeah. And then Papa J is saying Brown. Someone else said Demo. Brown has been decent. Demo's been the best. I agree. Demo's had a great year.